Montana's news leader, this is the MTN Noon News.
Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us on the Noon News. I'm Andrea Lutz. Montana residents living near the Canadian border remain frustrated about restrictions at the border. We have more on that story in just a minute. But first. Well, the White House believes Russian President Vladimir Putin could invade Ukraine by the end of the week. The Pentagon says Putin hasn't made a final decision but could move with little or no warning. That's part of the reason the State Department is closing the embassy, moving staff close to the Polish border. U.S. officials still hope they can come up with a diplomatic solution. Nearly $700,000 was wagered at the Super Bowl this weekend through Sportsbet Montana. Montana lottery officials say players averaged some $24 a bet. Total bets for this year increased 41% compared to the Super Bowl last year. Cities across the U.S. are removing their mask mandates as the Omicron variant eases up. A number of new cases remain on a steep decline, and the CDC says the 7-day average is now just over 175,000. And mask mandates are over at the Billings Public Schools. We spoke with a couple of parents. They were thrilled that the mask mandate was lifted. One mom saying that she didn't feel masks were being worn correctly by elementary school students anyway. Well, the sudden melting of snow can create problems for storm drains. This is especially true in Missoula right now. Recently, there was a report of something suspicious seen trickling down the road and into a storm drain. The Missoula Valley Water Quality District says it was built up grime from someone's semi-truck that was dumped onto the road. Officials are reminding residents it's illegal to dump anything but rain down a storm drain. And that's today's Leading Look.
Hope Tuesday's treating you and your family good so far. Before we get into the forecast, for you stargazers, myself included, tomorrow comes the February full moon. It's called the snow moon, also the hunger moon. The storm moon hits its peak tomorrow morning at 9:56 a.m. and it's named after the snow on the ground. Now, granted, we're going to have some snow in the forecast, maybe some cloud cover, so you may not get to take a peek at our full moon tomorrow, but I just want to let you know that it is going to be there. All right, a couple things going on, a couple cold fronts. Now, we're in the wake of cold front number 1, so it's bringing those temperatures down just a bit today, more around seasonal. Then we have a bigger blast of cold air coming in from the north tomorrow. What's that going to do for our temperatures? We see a lot of snow out there. What about accumulations? We'll take a look coming up.
I'm Dennis Bragg in Lincoln County. 2 years after this border was shut down, residents continue to express frustrations with the ongoing restrictions.
Saturday's rally and convoy of trucks from Eureka up to Roosevelt drew hundreds. Support for protesting Canadian truckers and a call to end cross-border restrictions. It was peaceful with no blockade. But as flags and signs were waved and a companion Canadian convoy stretching for miles was looped away from the border by RCMP, there was a deeper message of separation.
I'm sorry, this is harder than I thought it was going to be. Watching my family make a loop and not be able to see them.
We've not seen them. Telephones are nice, but it's not the same as putting your arms around your loved ones.
I've seen my 75-year-old dad once in the last 2.5 years. I've got nieces and nephews that I haven't seen since they were born.
It was nearly a year ago when we first brought you the stories of how the Tobacco Valley community has been split by the pandemic. And while there have been a few reunions, there are still limits.
Yeah, you know, at that point in time, we were talking about opening borders, but we didn't talk about circus tricks to get through those borders. There was a time when I was a child here when we drove across this border just over 20 years ago. And you stopped, they asked where you were going, what you were doing, and you continued on. So this is ludicrous to me.
Not much has changed, still frustrated. My kids have been able to see their family on that side. I went in June for 2 weeks. Other than that, it's real tight now. I mean, they've taken away flying. They took away my family exemption to go up to take the kids up there. We struggle. It's hard.
While there are challenges, there are some bright spots too. Shannon, who we met last year, was finally able to get married in December to her Canadian husband, but she says the restrictions still make it tough to get the entire family together.
It still doesn't feel real, but it's exciting to finally carry his last name and be with my high school sweetheart for good now.
But the new family is still separate, with Shannon and her son in Eureka and her husband and 3 stepkids in Alberta.
It's a little bit easier now that he did bite the bullet and get that lovely vaccine, but
I'm sure you're still hoping, though, for things to get back to normal so you can just go back and forth as you guys want, right?
yeah. Oh, most definitely. And not being able to see my other 3 kiddos is pretty devastating, and they're still going through a pretty rough time.
Tough for the adults, too, seeing friends and relatives in that looping traffic so close but still so far away.
It would have been nice to see my family up there. So, I asked them about coming down here, but they don't want to go through the circus tricks either. So, some of them are vaccinated, but yet there's still other restrictions that go along with that. They almost treat you like criminals to come down through.
Putting pressure on a community's patience.
I totally agree. And my patience is stretched pretty thin.
In Lincoln County, Dennis Bragg, MTN News.